Welcome to the Ramps on the Moon podcast. I'm Michèle Taylor, Director for Change at Ramps on the Moon, and this is where I get curious about ableism in the arts. I chat with brilliant people who are challenging inequity to find out about their experiences, their ideas, and their work in the cultural sector and beyond. This is Season 3, and whether you're new here or returning, every episode stands alone, so jump in anywhere. And if you want to go deeper, subscribe to our quarterly newsletter, The Shift, at rampsonthemoon.co.uk for exclusive insights, resources, and updates on the movement we're building. Together, we can change the world. Welcome to the Ramps on the Moon podcast. This time, I am really excited and honestly a little nervous to be talking with Jamie Beddard and Claire Hodgson, who are joint artistic directors of the wonderful Diverse City. So I've got lots I want to ask them about Diverse City, about their own individual journeys. And as usual, we'll just start chatting and see where the conversation takes us. Jamie, Claire, would you like to say anything by way of a more detailed introduction to yourselves before we get into the conversation? Jamie?
Okay, yeah, it's nice to be here, but we go back a long way.
We do go back a long way, Jamie, but we don't talk about that.
No, we won't mean that. I'm an actor, I'm a director, I'm joint artistic director of Diversity. I've been around quite a long while doing very different things. And yeah, I'm delighted to be here.
It's so good to have you. Thank you. Thank you for making the time. Claire, what about you?
Yeah, I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you for asking us, Michèle, and really nice to see you. Like Jamie, I'm a performer, I'm a theatre director, director of circus, choreographer, maker of theatre, and creative collaborator with Jamie and with other artists. And Diversity is an idea that I had 20 years ago, set up the company then. Amazingly, the company is 20 years old this year, which is exciting and unexpected.
Is it unexpected, Claire? Is it unexpected not just that you still exist, but that you are who you are and doing what you're doing as a company?
Every day and all the time, I feel gratitude that I'm able to be creative and artistic, with Jamie, and make work and spend time talking about work and being in rooms with people. And my 8-year-old self would be absolutely delighted that I have the job that I do. My 54-year-old self is delighted to have that job. It's a privilege to get to express yourself creatively and collaborate with other people and find out about the world more through working with people and in communities. I suppose the unexpected thing about Diversity, that it's still here at 20 years on, is that it isn't easy to sustain a company in the performing arts. I look back and I can see that a lot of it is down to many, many people's work and commitment to the same set of beliefs around justice in the world, and that many, many people have moved this community to 20 years old, but also that if we were to think more about what sort of situation we need for companies to be born and come about, because we need companies as the vehicles for artists to make work, because theatre's social, and so you need to be able to work in teams of people. And then I think that probably in this country we don't have that ecology, and a lot of it happens through accident and sometimes sheer bloody persistence. And so I'm interested in what conditions we need for future diversities to come about, and what conditions we need for people who are coming into the industry, and for how can people set up and sustain companies and then they're living from it.
And there's so much in what you've said already, Claire, that I'd really love to tease out and talk about a bit more. And from the outside, that one of the words that absolutely not defines, that's too restricting, that flows from the notion of diversity is this idea of collaboration. And I'm really intrigued by the two of you Jamie and Claire being joint artistic directors. And I'm really intrigued about how that works, both practically, because you're in different parts of the country, and also creatively, and what the pros and cons are, what the cost benefit is, what the joys are, what the challenges are. Jamie, what is it to you to be a joint artistic director as opposed to an artistic director? Or am I creating a false kind of opposite there?
I think maybe by going back to the beginning, it might uncover some of that. The main thing that when we were in our teens, I was a bit older than that. We met on a big community project, a big actor show. And now, 30 years later, we are making and reading something similar, which is amazing. I think Claire was the director, and then I came on board as the director about 5 years ago. And for me, um, two ends of better than one. Me and Claire are really good friends. We don't always agree, but I do think the old model of one director is maybe a bit not redundant now, but it's a lot of responsibility to put on one person. I think it's difficult. You get a diversity of ideas and you get to, yeah, so it doesn't always work, but generally the positives outweigh the negatives, in my opinion. Claire, you may have a different opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
This could be awkward.
yeah,
Yeah.
will I? I think a few things that listening to Jamie. One is that I think Jamie's actually been artistic director with me longer than 5 years. I think it might be 7, Jamie, or 8. When we
Okay.
became an MPO, Jamie
Yeah.
came on board officially as joint artistic director. And it wasn't honestly something I thought about very hard. I just thought, well, that's obvious because basically all the shows I do, Jamie's in them somehow, usually in them or creating them, or like Jamie's my artistic collaborator, one of them, and I think the thing for me that's freeing about being a joint artistic director is that when I want to do stuff, which, as an artist is pretty wide and different. Last few years, I've made a show that's in the sea with swimmers. I've broken the world record for the most people disco dancing in one place. I've made a show about the menopause. Is that I can do those things fully as an artist, and I know that Jamie will hold other stuff for me while I'm doing those things. And then in reverse, when Jamie is out, Jamie's written 3 shows for the company so far, and he's about to write the 4th. When he's, has to focus in on the writing or he's out directing a show, I know that my job is to be in anchor position, and I think about that in my head is that with the two of us, actually being an artistic director, you're responsible for all of the artistic output of the company, which means supporting the associate artists. We also have another collaborator who is an artistic director of talent development in the company, and she makes shows as well. And we're an artistic team. Is that it gives me much more freedom as an artist being in a joint position because I can fully immerse myself in that piece of work. And then I know that Jamie is holding the bigger picture. And then we do that in reverse, So for me, it's actually very freeing. And I think it's not a coincidence that I've made much more work. I've been much more prolific since I've shared the artistic director role with Jamie. As an artist, I've made more work. And it's a bit like other things in life, isn't it? Like being a sibling or, being a parent it's not always available to people, but it's lovely when you can pass the baton with some other people that can share something for you. And I suppose that thing of like someone's in anchor position and then someone's out, that's how it feels. And I think that, sharing leadership for me, like the company's been more successful than since we shared leadership. I would love to say, oh, yeah, it was all brilliant up until 2018. I mean, it had its moments and it also had its crises. And that's simply the thing of having a company, always both those things. But things have improved since sharing leadership because genuinely we know from, research that cognitively to solve problems, you need a variety of people around the table or around the operating table or around the war room or whatever or in the co-pilot seat or whatever, is that actually the more difference you have. I mean, Jamie and me share some things in common, but I would say we do share a lot in common. But in terms of like things like life perspectives and our identities are really very different. But that's probably good for problem solving. Jamie often will say to me something, he's very good at perspective. So he will say something like, that decision isn't actually fair because we didn't previously make that decision. So why are we doing this one now? I don't know if that's a clear way of saying it, but he often is trying to, I can get very lost in the moment and where we are now, and this is the thing now. And Jamie often pulls it out and says, hang on a minute, this is what happened. And we need to have parity or similarity or consistency. And it's just a different type of brain. And I think in return, I can sometimes say, let's jump in a way that perhaps Jamie's good at perspective. And I think I'm good at jumping off the cliff.
Would you agree with that, Jamie?
I think that, yeah, that's a good analysis. It's a new analysis, but it's one I agree with. I've never been very good at jumping off cliff. Metaphorically or in reality, so yeah, I've been acting about summing it up. Um, earlier you mentioned not being in the same place. We are a remote company. We're all remote, and that's always been part of part integral to who we are, is we work remotely. And that benefits a lot of people. And it means people, a more diverse range of people are able to work with us. And it can be more flexible. I mean, there are problems. I mean, if you're in the office, you could throw out something probably easier than being remote. But the remoteness is not who we are. But when we do come together, it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we haven't solved that by any means. Like, it's a tremendous benefit in terms of being a parent and a carer and things like that to work remotely. I'm talking about myself, but I know there's many people in the company who really value working in this way in terms of their caring or disability. We do lots of it well, working out when we need to be together in person to keep it all alive and easy. It is crucial to be in person because it time that me and Jamie spent, I often we have times that are not even focused on the company. Like we might go to see a show and then we've got a long tube journey or something like that. Or we had a recent hilarious tube journey across London that was really, really long with many trains. And it's really hard to get from Woolwich to Clapham Junction, which is something knowing London for a long time, never really worked that one out. But anyway, those sort of in between times are often when we can just have little chats in person that actually are probably the equivalent of what would happen in an office when we have a cup of tea, or some,
Yeah.
a lot of that time is missing. when you work remotely. And also the way that we work, we're all very focused because we've got other lives going on and other commitments. So people tend to be as efficient as they can be. That's not to say that we don't really check it. We check in a lot with each other and things like that. But yeah, I suppose the thing that I know is that, you know, if Jamie and me have some food together or go on the tube together, in between probably running workshops or something, that time always enables us to just sort out the stuff that's going on.
I love that phrase, the in-between times. It's that spontaneity, isn't it? That you get when you kind of get an email if you're in an office and you can swivel your chair around and, oh, I've just got this email from so and so and it's made me think about, or you just vent or whatever it is that you need to do. And if you're working remotely on your own, you can miss that. But equally, there are disadvantages of that spontaneity. And the flip side of spontaneity, I guess, is distraction. As long as the flexibility also includes the rigidity, by which I mean is if you're someone that needs to be in an office for a certain number of hours every day because that's what actually helps you to do that focusing and that prioritizing, and then as long as that can be part of the flexibility offer, don't you think sometimes, I don't know, I'm probably going off on one here, but I'm often in conversations or training sessions and we might be talking about relaxed performances, for example. And then somebody will say, well, I think all performances should be relaxed. And then everybody will be happy, wouldn't they? And my response to that is always, actually, no, I'd hate it. I really like the discipline. It makes me feel safe of sitting in an audience and knowing that people aren't going to be wandering around. I really like that. I really like that other people have the possibility of doing it differently, but I would want there to be an offer of a performance that is going to be a bit more formalized. So it's about choice. I am going off on one, but I'm going to keep going. I suppose for me, it's that thing about if there's only one way of doing things, there's always a barrier. I want to read something that was on your website, if I may. It's just a short paragraph, but it's your mission. Our mission is to fight for equality in every artistic arena. The boardroom, the audience, backstage and centre stage should all be truly representative, and we're here to make that happen. I'm really jealous, actually, of that mission statement. I think it's brilliant. I want to ask you, what place does disability have in all your thinking around not right now the work that you do, but how you function as a company? How central or not is disability, anti-ableism, or is that just flowing from who you are as a company anyway? Jamie, what do you think?
Maybe question. I mean, my immediate reaction is it's part of the way I am. It's not something beyond that, but I mean, obviously, in the work we do, the people we employ, it's part of our natural way of working rather than be thinking about it. We work with a lot of other marginalised groups that are not necessarily disabled. So for me, it's kind of a natural way I am, rather than something I feel I need to decide and be wary of. I mean, that might not be right, but I really think it needs to be part of our DNA
Yeah.
rather than something rocket science thing that we need to work out. I mean, that's my reaction to your question. It might not be a very good reaction.
It's really interesting because as I ask the question, it feels a little jarring. It feels a little
Yeah.
awkward. It feels a little like a non-question. But Claire, what's your response?
It's a really good question. I mean, to be clear, I'm non-disabled, I hope, an ally to disabled people, and I've spent my professional career being committed to that. And, my life, these are the things I believe in. I believe in equity for all people, and that extends to class and sexuality and race and disability and all the ways in which different groups have been oppressed. And I suppose I was thinking, as you and Jamie was responding, is that because it's happening all the time and for so many people, it's like a system overload in that, like if we have a cast for a show who are majority disabled, then access doesn't become and it's the same in the company itself. It's like it's all going on all the time. So it's not like an issue. You wouldn't have like a disability focus group or something like you would in a large organization, because it wouldn't make sense, because actually there's too many people in the mix. So we do set up groups to advise us when there's people with not enough people from an identity, so that we think that we might not be inclusive. And we're learning all the time. We're all of an age where like the landscape has changed, like in terms of neurodivergence and all of these things, and the trans movement and many other sort of changes in the landscape that are interesting and challenging and are part of the story of liberation that we are in. But 20 years ago, so there's always new things coming up. But yeah, it's really interesting. I'm always thinking about disability, and I'm always learning. I'm always learning more. And obviously people don't remain non-disabled, and people move into identities, And I suppose, sort of going back to the flexible working, is that the point about flexible working is that we're not the same every single day of our lives.
Yeah.
That relates to disability, it relates to gender, it relates to chronic illness, it relates to neurodiversity, it relates to lots of things. Is that old models are built on people who don't really exist, the people who can pitch up every day and be the same. Whereas actually most of us are, I'll speak for myself, day to day on a completely different volume level of what we can contribute. It's funny because it makes me think, God, do we talk about it enough?
Well, I was just going to say, help me out here, because I think there's a circle that needs squaring. How do we make anti-ableism so central to who we are, as you said, Jamie, that it's in our DNA, that we don't have to talk about it, and still, to look at your mission, fight for equality in every artistic arena? We can be a company whose DNA is anti-ableist, but we do in our outward communication have to be talking about it, because we're in an ableist society, aren't we? So on the one hand, one of the things that I believe is that if we were all truly anti-ableist, we wouldn't, for instance, need a menopause policy. We wouldn't do it, because we'd just be doing it anyway. We wouldn't need it, rather, because we're just doing it anyway, and we're flexible and kind and all of those other things. But at the same time, we can't let the menopause become invisible. So how, I'm being really inarticulate here, I think, but how do we be anti-ableist without then letting ableism become invisible? Jamie?
We also in the company that are making art or advocating. I think we do deliberately advocate, but I like advocating. It's not my political feeling. We could say we're only going to make art, and that's the end of it. But our politics are part of the art.
Yeah.
And part of my politics is the barriers that people face, like me, not like me, and the need to do something about the barriers. So it's a really natural thing to do, a really natural place for me to go.
Mm.
But if I didn't go there, it would be deliberately not going there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm saying, but that is from my kid, is fighting against the barriers that I perceive around me and around other people.
So then does that mean, this might be an impertinent question, does that mean that in your work alongside Claire as a joint artistic director of Diverse City, that you don't need to be having those conversations because the barriers aren't there?
We challenge each other. I mean, I definitely don't want to give the impression that our work in diversity internally is done. It is by no means done. And we are always learning, reflecting, learning more about different identities. But I suppose the thing that we're in progress, like everyone else is in progress. But I think the thing that we know is that when we're working externally with different organisations in the sector, is that people quite often say, we would do more in this area around disabled artists or whatever, but people don't apply. We don't have any disabled writers apply. And I suppose the thing that we know deeply is that, and we know it ourselves, is if we've got no Black producers applying to us, that's our problem. It's not that there's not Black producers out there. It's because people perceive us a company that doesn't employ Black producers. So it's our problem. It's not, that's the argument that's given quite a lot. And I probably get more angry than Jamie. It's not, I can think of a recent meeting where we were in one of the biggest theatres in the country and the disabled toilet is not open, not working, with no time scale of being fixed. And we're not warned prior to the meeting. Nobody thinks to tell us. And we arrive at somewhere and neither has anyone told us that the lift is out of order that day. I mean, these are age-old things. And I am fucking furious when that happens because we are meeting the artistic director of those buildings and nobody has phoned ahead to tell us that the building is inaccessible. I mean, this stuff still makes me wild all the time.
And so
it is not good enough. It's just not good enough. And we did a show in a major organisation that was quite large scale. And afterwards I said, how will it have changed you doing this show? Was both about disability and had a majority, a large, I think almost everyone in the show was disabled, quite a large cast. And they said, well, we are going to programme one disabled artist per season in the studio. So in the smallest space in the building and one disabled artist per season. And that's why I believe actually massively in quotas. I love quotas. In my career, that's the thing I've seen make a difference. And it's something that we use in the company when we work with creative partners. We have quotas around creative teams and casts. And because people clearly understand what that is.
Yeah.
That's what it's clear. And we work sometimes with a commercial company and I hear them having discussions like, oh yeah, we've got to get a production manager, but they will need to be female because we've got too many people on the production team who are male. Great, job done. They understand it clearly and they understand working with us means we're working to quotas. And our quotas are simple. They are what the population is.
I was going to ask you about that because I'm interested in asking about this word representative and that phrase truly representative. Is that a numerical method
well,
for you?
For the quotas, we tend to we have a minimum, which is as people present in the population. Of course, there's problems and nuance that's needed around that. And obviously we make the point that you don't reach the minimum. You can go completely, you can have an 80% female cast. There's, you don't need to meet the minimum. You can go elsewhere with it.
Yeah.
But we're not going below the minimum.
Yeah.
So it's controversial, but I just bring it up as a sort of in a situation where I've seen it massively change in terms of there are many more disabled artists working, initiatives like Ramps on the Moon, Unlimited have been game changers in this environment to create the landscape and the ecology for disabled artists to really begin to fulfill their potential. But when we arrive at a venue, there is often, well, we don't arrive and there's panic because we've sent someone ahead. We've spent 3 months sending someone doing the tour around the country 6 months before to try and get the access backstage that's needed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's appalling, and I don't know how Jamie has the grace about it, but it's appalling when in major theatres in this country, disabled artists have to change at the side of the stage.
Jamie, you wanted to say something?
Obviously, we want to be at the population as it is, but, but if you've only got a company for actors, you can't represent every identity. So we do get in a bit of a, oh my God, but that is in the bottom. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We do a lot of talking about, oh my God, how many identities do we need to touch and that?
Yeah. That's such a useful, honest reflection, Jamie. And I want to come back to what you said, Claire, because one of the things that we're thinking a bit about this year at Ramps on the Moon is the whole notion of allyship. And it seems to me, as a disabled person, that one of the really valuable things that a non-disabled ally can do is to be the really grumpy troublemaker so that I don't have to always be that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I relish that role, but I don't.
You're good at that.
I am good at it, Jamie, yeah.
Better than me, you know, I mean, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's important because,
Yeah.
you know, Jamie, when we performed Midlife at Brighton Dome, Jamie went and talked to the donors about menopause before the show. Jamie's an ally for me in terms of feminism and gender. And yeah, does Jamie want to have to go to the reception desk and talk about toilets? Almost certainly not. But I'm very happy to do that when needed. And also, yes, absolutely, because you don't want to spend your day endlessly. That's what allies are for. Like,
Yeah.
that certainly, absolutely.
And I love that reminder. I'm really aware of the time. I love that reminder that as we exist in society, each person is not either an ally or not an ally. Allyship flexes and bends depending on who you're with, where you are, what the context is. You can be an ally for certain people and they could be an ally for you in a different kind of configuration. And I love that, because anything that removes the polarization of the possessors of power and the devoid of power, the marginalized and the demarginalized, I think is really helpful. There's so much we haven't talked about, but I really, really want to encourage people to find out, if they're not already familiar with you, find out more about you and your work. Where can people see your work?
Well, we've got 2 really good websites, extraordinarybodies.org.uk, which covers all of our circus work, and then diversity.org.uk. On both of those websites, you can see quite a lot of films of our work, which I think is a good way of getting to know us. We're on Instagram as Diversity. You'll find us. And I suppose what's coming up is we're making 2 new shows, and you'll be able to see those shows in the next 18 months. Jamie's writing a show that is about sailing around the world as a solo sailor, and it follows 3 solo sailors on their journeys around the world, and they are on their journeys for very different reasons and in their boats. And then we're also creating a piece of gig theatre called The Other Life I Lead that's also going to be on tour as well. So those shows will definitely be touring in 2027, and they're going to have a few tryouts in 2026. So we're really excited about both of those pieces of work, actually, both theatre pieces, music, design, all of that will be very important in them. And like all of our shows, every single show will be fully accessible, meaning that it'll be BSL interpreted, captioned, audio described.
Nice.
We commit to that for all of our performances.
Brilliant. Well, that's really exciting, and I encourage everybody to go and look at those websites. Fantastic. Claire and Jamie, thank you so much for giving us your time this afternoon. I've loved our conversation, and look forward to seeing what's coming out of Diversity this year and next. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, Michèle.
Lovely to see you.
And
Yeah,
you.
really lovely to see you.
Brill. Thanks both. You happy?
Yeah, great.
It's the weekend now.
It's great. It's Friday afternoon, which is good.
It is 4 o'clock. No point going back to work now, eh? Thanks for listening to this episode of the Ramps on the Moon podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and to let us know what you think. Thanks to Pod Talk, our podcast production company. Technical production and editing by Mark Mason. Executive production by Zana Hornby.